Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Aries for October 2015. Go to my website, aspiritualspark.com, to see more about my current offerings and to become one of my VIP crew by signing up for my free email newsletter, and you get instant goodies and more goodies to come. So, as usual, with Uranus going through your sign, we've had this wild time that's continued, and there's additional astrological reasons why things are so crazy for Aries over this extended period of time. So let's talk about as much as we can in this time. We've got some general transits that are affecting everyone. We've got some specific things for Aries to talk about, and within the Aries subsection, there's a group of you that's having a certain wild time of it involving Uranus, which I also want to talk about. So let's talk about where the personal planets are congregating and what's really current in the month of October and in the times around this month as areas of focus. Okay, so all of you have this huge energetic weight sitting in this house of health, healing, pets, your diet, your regimen, your routine, what you do every day, your office space, your schedule. If you work in an office, and it would be your what rules like the office dynamics and how you experience every day at the office. If you're home, then whatever it is that your day-to-day life experience is like, this house, the sixth house, is strongly highlighted with quicker moving planets. So the sun, the moon, Mercury, the new moon, Mars, and Venus, and with Jupiter's presence being there as a long-term, bringing a long-term theme of focus on the sixth house. So the planets that move pretty quickly, those inner planets that I mentioned, the sun, moon, Mercury, Mars, Venus, wherever those are, they're not there for very long. So that's why they're often discussed in monthly horoscopes, because that's showing us what's different about this month. Oh, all this energy's over here. Oh, all this energy's over here. Now all it's over here. You know, they're constantly moving very quickly. But planets like Jupiter take longer to move around. So when they get somewhere, they've got a theme that's going for a long time. So this sixth house focus is both a concentration, now extra concentration with the personal planets being there for Aries, and there's a long-term focus on it with Jupiter being there. And it's really, really good stuff. Jupiter brings things to light. It expands things. It gives opportunities. It can bring luck. Now, that doesn't mean that all the events related to this house will at first seem good, because sometimes we have to uncover things in order to make things better. Okay, but it's all very much focused on the mission of the stars right now is to make your day-to-day experience better. And that includes your health, because you deal with that every day. Your pets, your home environment, your car environment, your friends, your groups, everything that is part of your day-to-day experience wants to be improved. And Jupiter is sitting there along with these personal planets, bringing all these different lines of energy into making your day-to-day life better, your schedule better. You know, if you haven't been busy, if you've been out of work, this could bring you more busyness. If you have been too busy and you want a break, it could bring you less busyness, but still the income. You know, there's whatever can be improved about the circumstance, that is more likely what you can bring in with this concentration, especially if you do inner work. You know, I'm always saying, without the inner work, the potentials of the transits can't multiply and magnify and manifest in the best ways. But that's where all this energy wants to be. And the solar eclipse energy is very strong there for most of you as well. That was in September, but that's bringing in these longer term themes. So the odds now that you can find your perfect practitioner for metaphysical things, for diet, a nutritionist, a medical doctor, having second opinions about something that's happening, anything involving your health on any level, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, you can draw to you the right practitioner. And also the universe is going to assist with either making you be able to afford that or bringing in an arrangement where you can do it anyway for whatever reason. So an example that I'm seeing from this energy here is there's a modality called myofascial release. If you haven't heard of it, look it up, myofascial, myofascial release. And this is something that I highly recommend for anyone who it's suitable for. If there's contraindications, then obviously it's not for you. You've got to look into that. But myofascial release is something that can help really rip. It actually rips the fascia apart in the way that your body is holding old programs. We hold our old programs in our bone structure, in our musculoskeletal structure. We're holding these little imbalances or big imbalances in our structure. So if you've been working so hard at changing the fabric of your creation and your reality, which I know many of you have because that is just what is up for Aries right now for many different reasons, then adding this physical modality to your other efforts can help that end of the matrix not pull you back in. You know, we're in this matrix of experience, and everything in our lives, our feng shui, our, relationship patterns, our workplace, our health, our diet, everything is holding in this certain matrix where we can do so much in here and then not get out. Every time we try to get out, we get bounced back in. So if you want to dismantle the matrix, bring it down completely, you've got to work on the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual levels. And part of the physical level is diet, and part of the physical level is your musculoskeletal functioning, okay? So something that I recently found out for my own purposes is myofascial release can actually be covered on insurance as physical therapy. So if you find a physical therapist who is on your insurance plan that does myofascial release, then you very well could have massive amounts of visits covered. And of course, I have Aries rising, so I'm going, things from my life are relevant for you specifically because we're going through this together, right? So I was working on certain things and then just boom to me. That's what helped make me see that this is one of the ways that this can manifest for you is like, oh wow, right. The gelling of something that has been long wanting to happen in the area of health, in the area of shifting patterns, is just like brought, sitting right in your lap where it's just gonna happen, something you've been hoping for. So look into things like that, that how something that you need to have done or could have done or would be helpful to you, using your creative resourcefulness and you might not even have to try that hard. That's one of the cool things about having Jupiter assist in this way, is that it just kind of comes to you, So we have all of that going on. If you have been looking for a change in your daily routine, that looks like it's coming too, okay? So everybody or even improvement in situations with something with pets or animals. All of this stuff is just waiting to be shifting in positive ways for you in the short term and in the long term. So some of the planets for you early degree placements have started to move into the 7th house. And for the rest of you, pay attention still, because certain things happen for the first placements sooner, but it's coming for you next, or coming with you, or coming in your life next. And that is this huge focus on relationships, cooperating within relationships, creating win-win in relationships, win-win-win, win-win-win-win, just like massive amounts of people winning from your efforts, from you using that powerful Aries energy that's ruled by Mars, that rules action, that actions you take can be creating triple, quadruple wins all over the place. And that's what the 7th house highest expression is all about. It's about collaborating in ways with people, interacting with people in one-on-one relationships in a way that's most beneficial to you and everyone involved. Now, it's not a coincidence that we have this 6th house focus before we get there. Everything is purposeful. It's so beautiful. The more you look into it, the more you see that everything happens for a reason in this certain way, And so the planets cluster in the 6th house before they get to the 7th house. That is purposeful because there's certain things that you can do with that 6th house focus that can make the transit in the 7th house be even better for you. And one of those things is removing the riffraff from your field. That's what the 6th house is all about. When I was getting at your space, like all those things I mentioned about your space, the holograms of your space, your friendships, your home, your relationships, your diet, your house, your car, your office. your friend on Facebook even, like whatever is part of your space, there is riffraff in your space. And when I say riffraff, I mean things that are not conducive to what you are trying to create. If you're trying to create this, and by having this in your space, it's pulling away from this, you might need to get that thing out of your space. And that's what this sixth house focus is also really about. You know, it's like asking the question, what is a friend? What is a friend to me? You know, and maybe you have friends from childhood, they're your friends, maybe you don't talk to them, but they're still your friends. You don't have to not be friends with them because you don't talk to them. Maybe you do different things, you know, but as far as who you spend your time with, who you surround yourself by, this is the time to get really discerning with who you are surrounding yourself with, because there is a likeness in that energy field that holds you in a certain pattern. And there's no judgment on anyone like, oh, I'm not going to hang out with those people because those people are blah, 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 whatever. It's not like that. It's not good to make it that way. You know, we don't want to make someone else wrong by trying to improve our lives. I talk about it in terms of resonance. You know, it's not bad or good or someone's better or worse. It's just you can fall out of resonance. Maybe there are certain habits that somebody has that bound you to them before. You know, maybe you drank coffee with them and then you decided because you're on a health thing now, wow, that's actually not good for me. And really the only way I was connecting with this person was coffee. And now I don't really have anything in common with that person anymore. You know, there's a lot of this that's going to be coming up for you where you're just asking these questions, either because I'm putting it out there to do it and you're like, oh, wow, yeah, it's time to do that. Or circumstances will come to you, perhaps eclipse related, from the outside that's saying, hey, you need to be more discerning with the people you surround yourself by. That is like the big message, you know. You've got to surround yourself by the energies of people that are doing the things that you want to create in your life. You know, if you want to have more money, and again, it's not like now you're not friends with your friends that don't have any money. It's not like that. You can still be friends with them, but if you notice that not having money, there's a mentality, there's a victimization, there's a sarcasm, there's a certain pattern that's holding people in that. And if you've been doing work to get out of that, but you still hang out with the stories that they're telling and they're unwilling to get out of it, then you stay stuck because of someone else's stories. And you don't want it to be that way. But if you're listening to people saying, you could do anything you want, you can improve any circumstance, the time is now, you have everything you need. I have chills as I'm talking about this. I'm getting worked up because, you know, of course, I'm one of those people. And so we're hanging out right now, right? But that is what you want to do. You want to surround yourself by people who are talking about the things that you want to create and being positive and helping to give you momentum to move forward and tools to move forward for the things that you want. So that's what's happening in the sixth house. For you Aries friends who have between 15, your Aries placement between around 15 degrees to 22 degrees, give or take a few degrees, but around in that grouping of 15 to 22 degrees, or your birthdays are from around April 5th through around April 13th, you all are having major crazy Uranus things happening. If it's your sun, you've got Uranus sitting on top of it. If it's your rising sign, you have Uranus sitting on top of it. And this is a long-term transit. This goes on for a couple of years. And depending on your exact placement, it could have started earlier and it could be at the tail end, or it could be just starting to get warmed up now and you still have a while to go. For those of you who have your birthdays after that time, you definitely want to listen up because eventually you're going to have this happen. And for you placements who already had this happen, you still want to listen because if you understand what happened, it might solve some mysteries as to things that you experienced during a period of time when that was occurring for you. So every planet, every sign, every placement has this range of potential expression from lowest to highest as that it can manifest in. And it runs from good, what could be perceived as good or bad, which ultimately I believe all of it can be good, you know, even the things that seem more challenging. But there are lower vibrational ways that these things can manifest. And Uranus is the planet of surprises, is the planet of excitement. So it can bring happy surprises, it can bring not so happy surprises, it can bring jolts of new, fresh, creative energy. Innovation is the planet of innovation. It can feel like you're being electrocuted, like you're actually shaking. I can't tell, I have my rising sign is in this grouping. So I've had Uranus sitting on my ascendant for a while and it got really strong, then it kind of waned a little bit and now it's retrograding to become very strong again. And sometimes I can't sleep at all because my body's going, and it's just like so crazy, and I'm also full of like crazy innovative ideas that are working out well, so it's got this wonderful upside creatively and having to do with things with technology as well, and working with groups, anything that is Aquarius or Aquarian or related to Aquarius, because Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. So there's all this upside, but it can put a tremendous amount of pressure on your cardiovascular system, the electric currents in your body, your heart, your nervous system. And there's a good chance you might need some more support there. You might need extra supplements. You might need more B vitamins. You might need things to support your adrenals. Aries energy, people tend to have their adrenals blown anyway. But with this transit, you're like, it's so far beyond blown. So you might need this nutritional assistance or the acupuncture, which is fantastic, chiropractic, myopractic, and all of these different practitioners that can help you. Your body is under way more pressure right now, and you need the assistance. But that's great because Jupiter and all these other things going on are here to support you. It's like, this is happening, but you have this support. And for some of you, this might involve going and getting some kind of diagnosis. You may or may not want to agree with what the diagnosis is, or take it on as a cloak to be worn that you can never take off, because many things that doctors say are not reversible are actually reversible, so just be careful with your movement into that territory. But sometimes if you know more about what you're dealing with, and many of you will actually have symptoms that need some medical or alternative medical something, eyes to look at. Some of you will have parasites where if you're having trouble keeping weight on, and my brilliant friend Joanna Milanos, Greek goddess that she is, who when I saw her when this was first starting to happen for me, and she was like, what's happening to you, because I was basically underweight, and I was like, I'm having a terrible time keeping weight on. And she's like, oh, right, she knows my chart. She says, you have Uranus sitting on your ascendant. I'm like, yeah, I do. And she's like, it's really, I did not even know that aspect of Uranus being there for my astrological studies and experience. But she said, often when that happens, people have a hard time keeping weight on because there's this force that's going, blah, 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 and sometimes there's something to be found out as to why you're not keeping weight on. There's something medical that you need to know about, and so it helps you to look for that, to get your extra support. You probably need more nutrition. You might need to eat more and different kinds of foods, etc. Because the first house rules your physical body. And your sun, whether the Uranus is sitting on your sun or whether Uranus is sitting on your ascendant, it's still affecting your physical body and your energy levels, So this is something big that's happening. Something else to know for this group is that when you have Uranus on your ascendant, and this is more so for those of you that have the rising sign in that grouping, then this placement is opposing your 7th house cusp. And this is going to make more erratic energy coming from people in your life. Like, they do surprising things. They come in like with a quickness. We're like, who is this person now? Or they leave with a quickness. This Uranian element of like things coming out of the blue, leaving out of the blue, coming out of the blue is probably very prominent for many of you. So people doing erratic and unpredictable things in your relationships were like, oh my God, everybody's going totally crazy. What is happening to everybody? They're going crazy. So you might have that element, and you also might have the element of being very quick to clear the decks with people to say, defriend, not friends. So I just want to give this counterbalance, because if you're finding that you are methodically and somewhat coldly going through your surroundings and like nixing people without any thought, like I said, because of the 6th house focus, there's some reason that's good for you to be getting more discerning. But Aries energy really has to be careful with how they do things. Being more diplomatic, breathing, trying to get some charge off of the situation before you take action can help you to not burn bridges and can decrease the amount of drama and repercussions in your life that comes from you deciding to do something different. So just that word of caution there is going to save you a lot of trouble. By you can be decisive within yourself and determined to make certain decisions, but your method of delivery try to give that a little more softness than you might initially do. That's for all Aries, but especially if you have Uranus in the sign of Aries, that's just like making you more wild. You know, it's making you like a live wire walking around. So besides all of these things specific for Aries, we actually have some general transits that are very relevant also. We still have Mercury retrograde. Mercury's shadow period started August 29th. It went retrograde September 17th. It goes direct October 9th. Its shadow period afterwards lasts until October 24th. Definitely check out my video, Mercury retrograde, on my channel, Annie Botticelli, Mercury retrograde, to see more about the do's, don'ts, opportunities, challenges of that transit. And even if you're sick of thinking about Mercury retrograde, watch it anyway, because we have to make friends with this transit because it happens 3 to 4 times a year for 9 weeks at a time between the pre-shadow and the post-shadow and the actual retrograde. Almost half of our lives, or at least half of our lives, is spent in this. So don't dismiss it because you're like, oh, Mercury retrograde, boring. You know, there's really more to know. And the more you understand about it, the better your life will be. Okay, so check that out. And also, depending on when you're watching this, check out my Venus retrograde video if you haven't watched it already, because Venus went retrograde July 25th. It went direct September 6th, but it's not until October 9th that the shadow period ends. So depending on when you're watching this, you might have a good bit of time still in the shadow of this planet having gone direct that rules love and beauty and money. That pretty much rules so many things in our daily lives, relationships, finances, investments, you know, anything with business related things. So as of October 9th, the Venus shadow period is all done, all clear. But since Mercury has just gone direct that day, you need a couple more weeks before you're ready to like charge forward. If you've been waiting for several months, as I've been saying, kind of hold off on your new things, stick to old things, redos of old things. Even if they seem new, if they're redos of old things, then you're probably all right. But around October 23rd, October 24th, then you're clear to do your launches, do your new things, make your decisions. That's going to be a much better time for that. We also have a couple of challenged Venus transits at the beginning, October 10th and October 16th. We have a square with Venus and Saturn, then we have an opposition with Venus and Neptune on the 16th. But between the 23rd and the 25th, we have Venus trining Pluto, and then we have Venus conjunct, which is right next to Jupiter. So that's part of why I like those days too, not just because the retrogrades have worn off, but you've got massive power from some heavy hitters just being sweet with Venus at that time. We also have the eclipses, which we've referred to. There's the eclipses happened in September, or will happen in September, depending on when you're watching this, and there could be repercussions that are still coming in October, for better and worse. For the challenging things, there could be more pieces that come in. For the wonderful things, there could be more news and information that comes in. So October is a really active month. If you'd like some assistance in navigating through the starry opportunities, then you can check out my website, aspiritualspark.com, to see all of my offerings, some virtual, some live. And you can sign up for my free email newsletter to become part of my community, which is my VIP crew, and you all will have access to my monthly write-up for the month ahead, where I go into more details, or different details sometimes, about the upcoming transits than I get to talk about in the horoscope. So do it, and I hope you have a wonderful month.